I went through the volume. I turned it down. I mean, on the TV with the TV remote. Yeah. And when I turned it on, Bob Ross was on it very loud. So I turned it down. She should be. I don't see her. We can certainly start with that. Okay. Are we streaming?
Yeah.
Okay. Call the October Town of Rochester Town Board meeting to order. Would you stand for the pledge of the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ask the clerk to do the roll call, please.
Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Manawan. Here. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilman Caesar. Here. Supervisor Bailey.
Yeah. First item on the agenda is our resolution for acceptance of the agenda. I'm going to propose a couple of changes. So the town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with the following additions. The first addition will be a privilege of the floor to former councilwoman Haugen Depew. The next will be adding a discussion on consideration of the contract proposal from Kerr-Hudson Ackworth First Aid Squad. Pending the outcome of that discussion, there will be a possible resolution on an ARPA funding resolution. We also will be moving resolution N and O from resolutions to discussion. They may come out after the discussion, but there will be discussion after the resolution Q. I'm also going to add a discussion item on quotes for the town park pavilion roof. And I believe, and we can determine at the end of the meeting, item R and S, the executive session, will probably be removed from the meeting. So with that, I'm going to turn the privilege of the floor. Oh, thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Now, I'm sorry.
Okay. I always like to remind people that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And as a two-time cancer survivor, I don't care if you're men or women, you've got the same structure. If you think you've got a problem, you go to your general practitioner, ask, and if nothing else, get a baseline mammogram. Never too early to go. And if you don't want to listen to me, it's okay, but it's never too early for you to go. So you know, breast cancer awareness. So just check. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask that the board consider the contract proposal first on the agenda. You were all distributed by email. Here is a red line copy that was provided from Kerr-Hudson Ackworth First Aid. Has been reviewed by our counsel, who was going to Zoom in because she had a prior commitment, but prior to our meeting, and but I see she's not here yet. Has been reviewed. She has no issues with it. This does address the insurance concerns that we had, and if any of the board members have questions, our insurance provider, Dwight Coombs, is here tonight and can answer any board member questions that may arise from insurance. So with that, I have reviewed it. I'm assuming each of you has had the opportunity to review it. So let me just first ask if there's anybody who wants to have any discussion. If not, I'm prepared to go ahead and make a resolution. But I'll see if anybody wants, since we're in a discussion item first.
Mike, can we know as a public what the contract is?
It's a lengthy contract, but the issue that was in disagreement was an issue over a mutual indemnification. That has been added into the contract. That is a standard provision that is in the 9 municipal EMS contracts that I was able to secure from various towns within the last month. I put out an email to the supervisors. I received 9 back, and every single one of them that I received back had that mutual indemnification clause. It was advised by our attorney and our insurance that be in, and Mr. Nurko has included it in this proposal, and we appreciate that very much. Also, the request has been upped from 150 to 175,000. I'm prepared to make a resolution to fund that with the 25,000 additional to be funded from ARPA money. So that's what I'm prepared to do. I want to hear from you. So.
And I believe this is the contract that they sent us.
This is the contract that they sent out to us Monday evening.
And it's the same that
It
they
is,
have
I
with-
believe this is very similar, and if the board would allow me, I'll ask Mr. Nurko, but I believe this is a version of the or the contract that we're seeing in Ellenville Rescue has. Is that correct? And will the board allow Mr. Nurko?
Yes.
Charles, please feel free to join us.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor David. This contract is substantially similar to the Warsing contract with Elements.
Okay. I saw that as I looked through it, and that was one of the examples that I had provided to Mr. Nurko last week. And I noticed the similarities. I did not put it side by side to check word for word, but it did appear quite similar. So thank you for that. So does any other board members have any questions? Yeah, this isn't public comment. This is the board's discussion on the contract.
The only thing I want to point out, this is just a point of information, is in this contract number 7, we will receive an itemized budget when next year's budget, October 15th.
Now, in response to that, and for Mr. Nurko's information, we have a cap of the total amount that can be included in the taxing the ambulance improvement district that we have adopted as of September 1st for next year. There had to be an amount not to exceed put in there. The amount not to exceed was put in at $175,000. So the taxable amount for next year cannot exceed the 175. It is a year-to-year situation. We can certainly discuss it further for the following year. That doesn't preclude the possibility of utilizing additional ARPA money for next year. But what the amount to be collected through the taxes had to be set in that referendum vote. That the vote did not occur because the town board did a resolution subject to permissive referendum. We waited the required amount of time. The town clerk verified that there were no petitions to call for a vote. Subsequent to that, at the September 1st meeting, the board adopted the 2 ambulance improvement districts for next year, which will cover the Kerhonkson Accord area of the town of Rochester, and the Marbletown First Aid Unit area of Rochester will be a separate ambulance district that will be serviced by, or likely be serviced by them. We will then offer contracts to those 2 agencies for next year's purposes. But this contract that we're talking about is strictly for this year. So that budget inclusion, our final budget has to be done a certain number of days before the public hearing. So October 15th would still be okay for us, Aaron, because we have budget meetings after that. Given that we're signing this potentially tonight or tomorrow, I think you know, that's only fair to them of leaving it as October 15th.
Can I ask, so when will this be paid out, and then will it be done as a lump sum? or do we have two
Yes,
payments?
so originally the payments would have been made in 4 installments, one by February 1st, one by May 1st, one by August. No, I'm off by a month. Essentially, it would have been made in 4 months, 4 payments. Being that we have passed all those dates, we will be, if we adopt the resolution tonight, I have a voucher that I'm going to pass around to each of you, ask you to sign it. As soon as I receive back an original signed contract from Herald Accord First Aid, I will execute the check to them as a prepay, because as long as the board has approved the payment, we don't have to wait. This would be like the equivalent of your signing it ahead of time for the audit meeting. So I have a voucher prepared tonight that if we adopt this resolution, each of you can sign it tonight. And as soon as I get that contract in my hand, we will cut the check. So they will receive the money very quickly. It was never our intention to hold anything up. We just had to be sure we were covered under the insurance. And this, in my opinion, and in our attorney's opinion, this addresses. Any other?
And in our insurance agent's opinion?
Yes. So, what we're worsening, and what we've seen for years is that across indemnification, if I'm your neighbor and I do something to hurt you, I was negligent, you shouldn't be responsible, right? I should be responsible, and vice versa, if you do something. So all that is that, you know, the squad and the town, they're supposed to be responsible for their own things and cross indemnify one another. So if we do something wrong here, we provide attorneys, everything else is defended if they get brought into a suit also, and vice versa. So it's I think we're where we need to be now.
Great.
And all the insurance is in place to back it up on both sides.
And for the board, that is item 10 that is added in the contract. Would the board like me to read it?
Sure.
So ambulance shall indemnify and hold the town harmless from and against damages, losses, and judgments arising from claims by third parties, including reasonable attorney fees and expenses recoverable under applicable law, but only to the extent they are caused by the culpable fault of ambulance and not attributable to the culpable fault of the town. The town must notify ambulance of any claim in writing 10 days after first learning of the claim. Ambulance's duty to indemnify and hold the town harmless shall be limited to the available proceeds of the insurance coverage required by this agreement. So we require them to carry a minimum amount of insurance, and they list us as a co-insured on their policy. And that is, so that additional insured, yeah, not co-insured. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, wording. And that is item number 9. And those, the amounts in there are the standard that we operate with all our additional insurance. Any other? If not, I'm going to make a resolution that the Town of Rochester Town Board authorize the supervisor to sign the contract between the Town of Rochester at 50 Scenic Road, Accord, New York, 12404, and the Cohasset Accord First Aid Squad, 6055 Route 209, Cohasset, New York, 12446, for the coverage for services for the year January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022, and payment to be made in the amount of $175,000 to be paid upon signature on the contract.
You made that motion.
I'm making that motion. I was not going to ask either of you to repeat it.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Allen,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Councilman Sneaker, Supervisor Bateman.
Aye. Very happy we're able to get this done. Thank you, Charles. I will take the red line version, make a cleaned up copy and email it to you tomorrow. I don't know Mark's availability for signing,
Our
but
vice president is here, authority to sign.
perfect. Is there somewhere where we can connect tomorrow, or could you come to town hall? Only because I don't have the cleaned up version ready. I wanted to make sure that the board was okay with the wording before I did that. So
I will go to my home and get a clean version. I'll be here for this meeting, please.
that is perfect, and thank you very much. If you just change the red lines and take out the crossouts, and I appreciate that very much.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to pass this voucher around and ask each of you to sign it. Actually, can you fill in the amount?
Mr. Supervisor, need me for?
We do not. Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
We appreciate you being
Happy to
here.
help. Any questions? All the time.
You can come visit anytime you like.
I'm back on you.
Today is 6. There you go.
Can I sign it?
Yes, yeah, you sign that in color. Next resolution is to authorize the supervisor to make payment of $131,000 from the ARPA funds to the general fund.
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
I'll second.
The reason it's 131,000, 44,000 was originally budgeted and collected in taxes as part of the budget. The 131 is the difference from the amount that we just approved. That will be transferred from the ARPA fund, which remains in a separate account until it's utilized. When it's utilized, it gets transferred over to the fund that it is funded. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. In that file. Okay, attorney for the town, is she here? No, we do not see her yet. So we will pass over that for the moment. I'll ask the town clerk, tax collector for her report.
All right, for the month of September, $40,554.01 was submitted to the supervisor for a monthly report. We did receive a resignation from Tabitha Zero for deputy town clerk 2. And I just wanted to give a brief overview of Heritage Day. The rain held out, which was great. Unfortunately, I think it did keep some of the crowd away, but on behalf of Friends Historic Rochester, we would like to thank the following volunteers: Don Andy Provider, Riley Waddell, Christina Ferrara, Ryan Brand, Brenda Hawk, Sally Roy, Peter Nelson, Rich Miller, Melissa Mertz, Rita Harkins, members of the Recreation Commission and the HPC Commission, Pat Davis, Will and Melissa Farrell, Courtney Coffey, members of the Accord Companies 1 and 2, Deb Martin, Jim Ayers, Anna Henneberry, Jeff Fry, Tom Karate, Matt Bennett, and Jared Dunford. There were so many more that offered a helping hand that day, and we can't thank you all enough. There was great music, good food, and entertainment for all, and we couldn't have had this done without our financial donors. And I want to list those as Westland Orchards, Greg McLean, Zachary Kleinhandler, Modern Accord Depot, Accord Market, Boulder Research Associates, Solid Waste Disposal Service, Donersville Farm, First Student, The Revenue Markets Inc., Menbach and Eggers, David Lawrence Construction, AMR Landscaping and Excavating, Plymouth Funeral Home, Diane Shoemaker and Patrick Williams, Bob Vitos Auto Body, Bell's Christmas Tree, Domino Farm, William Redding, Williams Lumber and Home Center, Dean's Tire Service, Dave Estrell Plumbing and Heating, and Daryl Stratt. We also like to thank the residents on Main Street and Schoolhouse Road for their patience and understanding for us holding the festival, and thank the town board for the fireworks as well.
Thank you.
Mike?
I would like to say, on behalf of the town board, we want to say thank you to Kate, to all the people she listed, but this all started 2 years ago when Kate had the idea of making Heritage Day be a townwide event. And we may not have had the attendance and the participation we had last year, but we had a pretty darn good party compared to other communities. So thank you, Kate, for what you do, for what you did with Heritage Day. Next year, bigger and better. Always coming up with ideas, but it all started with you, and thank you for that. Highway Superintendent report. I have the Highway Superintendent's 284 agreement, which is an agreement between the Highway Superintendent and the town board that must be signed each year by the board members and the Highway Superintendent. And that is an agreement of what the funds that we budget in his budget will be used for improvements. He has provided a list of all the improvements that were done this year. I'll be asking each of you to sign that agreement. That agreement is then filed with the town clerk and I believe the Department of Public Works for Ulster County. We'll be doing that tonight. When we do that, I will give out a report of that those amounts. We did a significant amount of work this year on the roads, much more than we've done in past, and I think you can see it in the results as you drive around our town compared to other towns. So the majority of it was all funded through our CHIPS funding. We got a significant increase this year. They started what they call the Pothole New York program that funded us at least another 100,000 in that neighborhood, more than we've received in the past. We utilized the majority of the funds. We still have a little bit left over. If we don't utilize it this year, it will roll over into next year. So we anticipate the funding to be at the same level as this year, next year. So we hopefully can do similar work next year. Report on the Voicemill Bridge progress. This is a little bit of overlap with the Bridge New York grant, but it is, we have signed the contract with HPEA for their design services and the beginnings of any right-of-way investigation of acquisitions or any either permanent or sometimes we might need a right-of-way acquisition just during the construction phase. So they will be having their surveyors come out and determine if any of that will be needed. They will be designing it. We will be having a kickoff meeting with the consultant and Jeff Fry and myself and the DOT tomorrow afternoon. That will be our first meeting with them on this project. What time is it? 1 o'clock tomorrow. It's more a paperwork-ish meeting of just going over everything that has to be signed. For the people from the public, this is the Bridge New York program is federal money administered through New York State. We tried twice to get it. The second time we were successful. We received a grant funding of $1,999,999 for funding to design and replace the Voicemill Bridge. We then went through the process of hiring a consultant engineer, which we have done. Hudson Valley Engineering, I think it's Hudson Valley Engineering Associates, better known as HPEA. They are from Beacon, New York. However, our project manager lives in New Paltz. We were very happy and during the interview process to find that out, having somebody that local. There are 15 vendors that New York State does for each region, and you must select one of those 15 vendors. We interviewed we offered offered interview to all 15. What did we end up with? 9 responses back? I think it was 9 responses back. We narrowed it down to our final 3. We then interviewed and hired HVEA. So they're in the design stages. We should be likely going out to bids for construction either the end of next year or early spring. That's still to be determined because there's rules about when you can work in the stream. And there's also potential issues with cutting of any trees to the Indiana bat. So construction phase has to be a pretty tight window of time. And the other thing is, once you initiate contract, your clock starts ticking. So we're not going to put the bids out, even though it may be designed long before then. We're going to wait to put the bids out so we get in the optimal window of time for that. So exciting project. As I said, we got the 1.999999, and we are responsible only for 5% of that. So we're getting a $2 million project for $100,000 town money. We likely will fund that out of fund balance, or we will bond for it, depending on when we get to that situation. And these projects, you pay the money up front, and then you're paid back for it. So we have to be able to spend the initial capital for this first phase, where the contract is approximately $380-some thousand. We're doing that out of the general fund balance that we're loaning the money to the highway department for the short term. So a lot of detail, but a really good project. I'm glad we're moving forward on it. Financial report for September was filed with the town clerk, and each of you have a copy in your folders. The revenue received from the general fund for September, $97,860.93. Highway fund, $3,744.60, with a known 621,000 plus on the way, and probably to be received in November or early December, and that's the reimbursement for all the CHIPS funding. The expenditures in abstract 9, the general fund was $82,182.65. The highway fund was approved at $51,427.94. However, we're going to make a correction on that. There was a voucher in there that was discovered to have already been paid and was removed after the board audited bills. The street lighting fund is at 0, and the escrow fund, $3,862.87. The total expenditures for the general fund, $147,729.13. The highway fund, $106,384.74. The street lighting fund, 0. The escrow fund, $3,862.87. And with that, Mary Lou, I see you've joined us. So do you have anything to report for the attorney's report?
Of course, I was on and by phone.
Oh,
I tried to speak, but I don't know if you had all the phone people muted. So Aaron and Adam, thank you for getting me the information so I could get back on. The link for some reason was broken when I first got on. I kept getting something that said something's gone wrong. So I had Aaron send it to me. Mike, you can ignore the text messages that I sent you.
I didn't hear it, but I had my phone turned off. So
yep, good for you for paying attention, and thank you to Aaron and Adam for paying attention to my text. No, just most of my stuff's really been working with Charlie and Michael on the KFAS stuff. I'm really very happy to see that moving forward, and planning's keeping us busy, but nothing incredible to report to you, and that's good news.
Okay, thank you very much. Correspondence, you each got quite a bit of a packet in front of you. I'll just briefly go over everything. Received a letter from the DOT that they will be replacing a culvert on a federal aid eligible route. This is on 4455 between Laurel Hollow Road and Jenny Lane in the town of Rochester. Time anticipated for construction will be spring and summer of 2024. Chief Demarest, we'll make sure we stay on top of this. So there's obviously a road closure or something on 4455 will definitely impact you. So we'll make sure to stay on them for the schedule of this, so we can make you aware of it. There is NYSERDA grant code trainings that are available October 4th, November 3rd. The October 4th is in Bethel and White Lake, and the one in November 3rd is in Newburgh. We were encouraged to send a code enforcement officer to this. If the CEOs get these 8 hours of in-service training, it counts as 1 action and 200 points in the Clean Energy Communities Program. I did speak with the zoning coordinator, and she was going to check the schedule, and hopefully, well, the October 4th one has already happened. I don't know if he attended that one, or I will find out if he's going to the November one. She was going to have him attend, or someone from the code enforcement office, and so we can get the credits for that. Next, a memo from the New York State Comptroller about federal aid received by New York State local governments and school districts under the coronavirus response and the American Rescue Plan Act. It is essentially about revenues and fiscal oversight of it. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. Received a communication from a resident with some questions about Heritage Day and the fireworks. And also made a suggestion that with so many events going on, that we consider combining Heritage Day, the Lions Fest, the Little Ones Truck Day, and end with fireworks. So I'll leave that in your hands, Kate. Thought that maybe it would be easier, but I did attend a training recently for the New York Planning Federation that's primarily about planning and zoning. However, one of the sessions was on ethical consideration for planning and zoning matters. But many of the things in here are for all elected officials and as well as appointed. This is a compilation of his bullet point presentation that he did. So I wanted to share that with each of you. Received an email from our new Ulster County Planning Department employee. His name is Kai Lord Farmer. He is a former resident of Rosendale who then went to California to work and has now moved back and has taken a new job with the Ulster County Planning Department. He is primarily focusing on housing issues. Charlotte, I'm sure you're going to get to know. I met him for the first time actually today. He was at the training that Councilwoman Anawan and I were at today. They have a new website out on housing, and they're doing municipal training on it. So I don't know if it's by Zoom.
I'm going to be trying to go to the 17th.
The 17th.
one, yeah.
I'm going to try to get on it as well. But I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it. It's a pretty robust program. He gave us a little example of it today. Email that I'm sharing with the board members from Supervisor Parity regarding our shared assessor. An email from the Office of the Economic Development announcing New York State seed funding grant money available And I haven't had a chance to really look at it in detail, but I will and see if there's anything in there that we think we should apply for. Two memorandums from Real Property Tax Service regarding the time frame of requirement of us submitting budgets to them so they can start calculating the tax levy. They do ask that we get them by Friday, October 21st, our preliminary budget. They know that your final budget is not due until November 20th. However, they ask for your preliminary and they start entering data into their system at that point. And that way, when you send them your final approved one, they have less changes to make. So I will be sending them whatever status we are in at the moment. For the public, there's three phases of the budget. There's the tentative budget, which is sometimes known as the department wish list. The supervisor collects the ask of each department and compiles that into a tentative budget, which is made, and then the board reviews that tentative budget and creates the preliminary budget. The preliminary budget is then scheduled for a public hearing. And after the public hearing, the board can make additional changes and adopt the final version. It must be adopted by November 20th. So those two memos are regarding that. An email from the Rondout Surface Land Conservancy asking if the highway department could clear opposite the Algerville Firehouse, the thick sumac there. It appears that that part of the road is town property. You might remember when we started the Algerville Firehouse project, we discovered that that road actually was in ownership of the town, excuse me, the county. Although the county thought the town owned it, the county actually owned it, and it was never transferred to the town, even though they thought they did in 1950 something. We did finalize the transfer of it, so we actually now, the road bed there is under the town's control. And this sumac area is on the town property. So I forwarded this on to Highway Superintendent Fry. He said that they've done it in the past, and he would look into it and try to get it addressed. Shared also with you the Association of Towns newsletter that they put out. This is the October 2022 edition. And finally, an email about resiliency grants that are available for counties, cities, towns, villages, and tribal governments. There's two webinars for that. I'm going to try to be on one of those two and see what funding is available. So it appears there's an awful lot of funding out there, and so I want to try to stay on top of it and make applications to as much as we can, because all this federal funding is probably not going to come around again. I doubt we're going to see this type of funding. So that is the correspondence report. Supervisor's update. The COVID report as of today, 82.8% of the population in Ulster County have at least one vaccination. 75.8% have been completed. In the town of Rochester, there were 6 active cases. There have been 1,557 confirmed cases, and we all know that there's probably more because with the advent of home tests, not everybody reports to the county health department. And sadly, we have experienced 8 deaths in the town of Rochester. Grant updates, I already mentioned, actually, I'm sorry, I already mentioned the Boyce Mill Road Bridge. The Algerville Firehouse, we've run into supply chain issues. Some of the materials that we've been waiting for that were scheduled to arrive in September and early October are now to be determined. Because of that, we cannot fully accept the finished product, so it remains in a holding pattern until those, some of which have to do with the antenna for the emergency system, as well as a few other things. So our hope to be done by the end of October is likely not feasible. We have gotten an extension from New York Rising people. I believe I think they took it through the end of the year just in case. Originally, we were only asking through Thanksgiving, and I think they went ahead and extended it. I have not seen the paperwork on the extension, but I was told that they verbally that they approved it. So we continue. The good news is on the Herald Community Center, the engineering firm finally sent us all their receipts for all their miscellaneous expenses that we've been waiting for over 2 years. And the head of New York Rising basically sent them yet another email that said this date or we will not be funding you. And suddenly I got a FedEx the next morning with all the receipts. So that is just about finalized now. In response to one of the comments made at the last meeting, the dates in those contracts were not the town's doing. The dates in those contracts were completely administered by the New York Rising people. We were at the liberty, we were obligated to follow the state's contracts on that. So we are essentially the applicant in this process, not the contract holder. The building department code enforcement record conversion continues. We're clock is starting to tick a little, and we must be done by the end of December. They still assure us it will be done. I'm going to follow up with them again tomorrow and see where they stand on that. The courthouse bathroom ADA compliance reconstruction. We put out a second call for projects. We didn't receive any. About a week or two after the date came and went, we got a couple more calls about it. So I don't know if we want to try it a third time. Everybody seems to, one person said, I can get you a quote in 2 weeks. And I said, the date's done. We can't take it anymore. So we can try a third time and hope that these people who say they want to bid actually follow the date time frame. The state hasn't asked for the money back yet, so that's the good news. So we'll see. There were two local contractors who indicated that they would probably bid on it, but neither one did. Even though I personally reached out to both of them and told them the date they can do by, neither one of them followed it. So we received each year the state comptroller's office performs what is called a fiscal stress report. It is based on a number of criteria. There's a financial report and a environmental report. The environmental does not mean the environment like air, water. It means the environment like amount of fund balance compared to, let's see, it deals with things like population, poverty, age, tax base, income of residents, unemployment rate, state and federal aid. And so for the board members and for the public, for the third year in a row on the financial, we scored a perfect 0. In this case, 0 is good. We can't get lower than 0. It means that we did not trigger anything on the fiscal stress side. On the environmental side, we've gone from a 13.3 in 2019 to a 10 in 2020 to a 20 in 2021. That is still classified as a no designation. Up to 29.9 is a no designation. And where we received the most points is 13.33, and that is due to the amount of state and federal aid that we've received. I would attribute most of that to the fact that we've had this project. This is for the 2021 year. So we've had this project, we've had the Algonville Firehouse going on. We've had the federal ARPA money, so I suspect that many communities, and it's done as a percentage of your total revenues received in relation to the amount of federal and state funding you receive. So because of that, we received a 13.3 in that category. And in our tax base, we received a 6.67 score, which total to our 20. But we are still, and I also have a copy of all the ratings within Ulster County for the board for comparison. And for the public, all this information is available online. If you go online and you Google search fiscal stress monitoring system, you can see the fiscal stress scores of any school district, town, village, any taxing body in New York State. You can see their fiscal stress scores for the last 3 years, and you can see their environmental scores. And then you can download how it's arrived at. So that is all available to the public. 2023 budget, as I said, we are in the tentative stage. I would like to say, you may have seen an article in the Daily Freeman that said a 25% increase. That is an increase in spending from the original budget last year. What is raising that is the $383,000 that we'll be receiving in 2023 for the Bridge New York program. In the budget, I have included $200,000 of the ARPA money in hopes that we will move forward with the broadband initiative. So that article only mentioned the spending side. The revenue side is up considerably in the double digits as well. At the end of the day, the total increase in taxes to be collected at this point, and bear in mind this is the tentative budget, is 4.93%, which equates to 3.15% in the amount of taxes for the tax levy, which is 6.45 cents per thousand. So for a $200,000 home, which is what they use as the basis, it would be $12.90 increase in town taxes total between general and highway per year. Now, I do realize that we are adding the ambulance district. With the 2 ambulance districts, the taxes on that will be 20 cents per thousand for the Accord-Currahonson district and 22 cents per thousand for the Marbletown. So on a $200,000 house, again, that would be $40 a year for Accord-Currahonson and $45 a year for anybody in the Marbletown. As we heard at the public hearing from the public, many people consider that a fairly small amount to be certain that there is an ambulance. So it's unfortunate that that article did not talk about the revenue side and only talked about the expenditure side, but I wanted to address that. Again, this is the tentative budget. The board will be holding 3 budget workshop meetings. We've set the dates for those. Those are public meetings. They're not public comment meetings. They will be broadcast on YouTube though. Anybody can watch them. Or you can come here and watch them. I think the former councilwoman can tell you, we talk a lot of numbers for a couple hours. We meet with various department heads to discuss their requests. Currently, they are scheduled for 13th, 17th, and 21st. No, 13th, 17th, and 26th. 13th, 17th, and 26th. We're gonna, yeah, that's
Got
a
it. All right.
possible
Something I got.
moving of the 17th, yeah. The 17th, there is a resolution tonight to move it because one of our council members who was available has a work commitment that evening and is no longer available, so I'm gonna try to move it to a date so we can have all 5 board members here to work on the budget. So that is the status on the budget. Those meetings start at 6 p.m. They run approximately 2 hours to 8 p.m. Once you go beyond that, with that many numbers in your head, it gets a little tiresome. So we will have, excuse me, we will be at the end of that process at our audit meeting in October on the 27th. Yes. We will be then setting the preliminary budget, which will then be set for the public hearing, and we will be setting the public hearing tonight. You will see a resolution on tonight's agenda for to exceed the tax cap. The reason being that we will need to exceed the tax cap is because of the creation of these ambulance districts. In 2022, they had 0 taxation. In 2023, the KFAS one will be 175,000. The Marbletown one will be 15,500. The total of that $190,500 alone exceeds the tax cap, but they must be calculated into the tax cap. So because of those taxes, we will need to do a resolution or a local law, excuse me, to exceed the tax cap. We will be very upfront and everybody will be able to see in our budget where the remainder of the budget. Right now, we are at starting point before the board starts making cuts, and we will make cuts. We are $12,917 below the tax cap. We will make changes from that point. So, but that amount of money will never make up for the 190,000 because we only have 100. We have the ability to increase our tax collection by $107,879 and still be under the tax cap. So clearly the ambulance improvement districts will put us over that by themselves. So we have never done that before, raised it, but the reasoning behind it is very explainable, and I hope people will understand why we have to do that. Ulster County updates. I have nothing to report on any Ulster County specific updates, except the county budget was presented by the acting county executive Tuesday. Was presented in the legislature room and live streamed out on Facebook Live. There is only a summary of it out at the moment. The full budget is due tomorrow, and I'm anticipating it will be online. They are projecting at this point, again, it's their tentative budget, is a 3% tax decrease in the tax levy for Ulster County residents. So they are projecting a tax decrease. Upcoming public hearings on the Thursday, the 27th. Thank you. We have public hearings on local law T, U, V, and W. Those are the continuation of our zoning changes. Local law T is on chapter 140-17, changes made to the parking, loading, access, and traffic standards. Local law U is on chapter 140-20, general, commercial, and industrial standards. Local law V is on 140-21 on signs. And W, sorry. Bring it with me. Remember what the topic was on W, Aaron? Oh no, I did bring it, I'm sorry. W is on multifamily residential uses. Very minor changes in that, just a couple corrections of statements made in that. So those four, zoning will be on public hearing. We anticipate to continue that process in November and likely December. The moratorium, the 6-month moratorium expires at some point early December. We likely will need to do the first 3-month extension. It's still my goal and the board's goal to get this done before second extension. I'm hoping we get the zoning code done in the first 3-month extension, which would be by March, by the first week in March. And then we will the moratorium on site plan and subdivision, site plan and special use can be rescinded, and we will continue the moratorium on subdivision for the next 3 months and get that done. And by June of next year, we should have both codes completed. Ambitious, but the county planning department has been very happy about the work that we're doing. They have really applauded the work, and the zoning task force did a pretty amazing job, and we're now taking their suggestions and working through it. So that's where all that stands. Moving on next to department and liaison reports. Michael, let me start with you, although we handled the big one for you tonight. So.
All right, well, so on the ZBA, no ZBA meeting last month, so don't have any updates for that, but we do still need to look at filling the alternate position. I did reach out to previous interested candidates. I heard back from all but one of them, and they were unable to serve at this time, so I know we still have one interested candidate that reached out to us. So I think we can discuss as a board whether or not we want to make that appointment, or if we want to go through the interview process, or what we want to do with that. I also spoke to the chair. I know they are definitely interested in scheduling a time with us to talk through their budget request. So I don't really know, how we've not gone through it, what the process is for getting on the calendar, but
why don't we finish, and then I'll let the board know how we're going to do that.
Spectrum, so no updates. I did reach back out to Alex, and in light of the fact that they're providing quotes to residents again, see if they wanted to consider giving us a consolidated price to do the town. I haven't heard back from that yet, so I'll be trying to get numbers from them on that. Obviously, we have individual numbers, but I'd like them to just give us a single plug for what it would cost to finish off the rest of the town. EMS and fire. I know we had the agenda items earlier today, so I'm glad that we've got that settled. I'm looking forward to moving on to the process of the AIDs and figuring out if we need to make any changes.
And
discussion about
for the
that.
public, we have 2 clean copies, both signed by Rochester Supervisor and KPAS, so the check will be cut to them tomorrow morning.
Great. Marbletown
What's
first.
the amount?
$175,000.
Thank you.
Yes.
Marbletown First Aid Unit, so there were 48 dispatches, 3 canceled, 1 they were unable to prove, so that's a 97.8 response rate. KPAS responded to 77 of 79 calls, so that was a 97.4 response rate. As everyone should be aware, in September they started the E5 staffing agency to provide paid staffing. I've also been talking to people in town. I know that the responses have been faster, which makes sense when you have somebody sitting right by the ambulance, responding quickly. So that's great. It's good validation that the model works, and looking forward to seeing that continue in the coming years. So great news there. No additional updates on the fire district. I did stop by with Erin at Heritage Day just to visit them, and grateful that they were there to help feed the people that were there that day. But other than that, no updates.
If I could just add one quick thing on the cable vision tonight. Cablevision slash broadband, and the reason I say Cablevision is because the contract with Spectrum is Cablevision. The comptroller of Ulster County has formed a task force subcommittee that is working on this. And she actually is looking into trying to get a price from them to build out all of Ulster County in all unserved areas, and seems to be making a little bit of headway. So I'm just passing that on to you because I know we're talking about our own town, but she's very interested in getting any information we can give her about unserved areas to make sure that they're on her list. So I'm going to coordinate with her and make sure that we're in agreement on all the properties, but maybe we'll get something going. So
That'd be great.
thank you for that report. I'm sorry to step in on, so Charlotte?
So for elder care program, not many updates. It's not their busy season, quote unquote, yet. That tends to be more of the winter when there's more inclement weather. But Richard's been handing out and circulating the food pantries flyer that they requested that get sent out. And also getting people, as it does any wellness care and visits, to update their forms with us to allow us to do that, them information if they would like it from the town. Housing committee, I am hoping that soon we can do interviews and get some people on the committee. I know this month is budget month, so it might be a little hard to get through, and I think I haven't seen any more applications yet.
I got one more. I'm gonna put all that on our workshop meeting
Okay.
in October. So we'll then go from there and hopefully be able to get.
And I think we only have 6 or 7, which would round out the board, and
Exactly.
we're all fine or for the committee, so it's going to be fine with that, and I do plan on attending one of the trainings to try to get us part of the smart housing initiative for the county. Because we should be, the way it works is you apply, you have to hit certain targets and goals, or actually kind of ahead of the game, having the accessory dwelling law already in effect and having a committee, so we should go straight to a bronze level, which is the first level on that committee as soon as we apply for it.
Yeah, and actually they just talked about it today, so we'll, I plan to bring that in November for a resolution. So, perfect. Erin?
Okay, this month, the third Thursday talk, which is the Zoom talk, will be on Thursday, October 20th at 6:30 p.m. on place-making strategies for homegrown climate resilience. I believe their meeting was canceled last month due to not having a quorum, so we look forward to having the October meeting this month. The planning board meeting for next week is on Wednesday. So because of the holiday, it's been rescheduled. We'll continue to move along with a shorter agenda items as we put a moratorium. And for the transfer station this Saturday, we're doing a volunteer appreciation at noon for the volunteers that spend a lot of time at the exchange. And I'll also be there starting at 1. I'll be doing some educational awareness, both talks and demos. I picked up some stuff from I picked up some flyers and informational materials from the UCRA this week for that. So I would invite any town board members who have any questions to stop by and thank those volunteers that have made it a very nice and welcoming exchange this year.
Should we bring some non-recycling items so you can
Yes,
correct this?
I'd love to do that. One of my favorites. Especially people who would respond with a smile. And we're also beginning to talk about maybe mitigating some of the ice buildup issues. I know we need to get together to Supervisor Baden to talk about the options, but
Yep.
the volunteers are eager to spend some time on that, depending on what the town thinks.
And I think we talked about this last month, but the lighting in the trailer, everybody's been happy with it?
Oh, it looks like a store.
It's beautiful, and they painted on the inside. Yes, it's very nice, and they have enough of a volunteer base now that they're able to accept some items that they didn't feel like they could before. So I know Tina Woodbury, our volunteer coordinator, said that they're actually now doing clothing, and that has been very, very popular item that they've been able to do. And then they also were sorting out clothing items that need to get donated to the other boxes. So there's a place for every part.
If I could ask, any clothing items that don't, if they can get over here and go in this box, because the direct revenues of that go to
Yes.
recreation.
Yeah.
So that would be great.
Then I also it's not our transfer station, but the UCRA has monthly classes that they offer, and this month they have some really cool ones at the end of the month. So on October 13th, they have open to the public for the UCRA, which is the recycling and composting facility. I highly recommend that one. I actually was able to tour their MRF, and it's really incredible, and it's great that they're open to the public. So you do have to pre-register for that. And then they're also doing a composting intro to bokashi on October 21st, and that's for home gardeners. So they're offering some great programs, and I've spoken to them about how useful it is to have programs at our own transfer stations. So we are starting to talk. I'm starting to talk to them about ideas for more hands-on type things we can do at our own. Do I have another way? No. I think I got
So
it.
you did planning board.
Yeah, I have
you got one.
libraries, but that one.
This time of year, not
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Also, they're doing hazardous waste collection.
They are, but it's full. So I didn't want to.
When's the next one?
November. They do them monthly. I think they have one in November, but it might actually end in October. So for the public, the UTRA does the hazardous waste collection days. You do have to pre-register for those. That's for things that we normally can't take at our transfer station. There's one on October 23rd that is currently full, but you can sign up for the waiting list. And the alternate dates for future hazardous waste programs are listed on the website.
The rec department, the after school program is up and running and doing spectacular. I just lost my thought. There we go. After school program has begun. There's still openings though for anybody that's interested. Please call the recreation department directly. Our KBA basketball registration is underway. The registration will be on the 11th and the 13th at Bronxton Elementary School, and looking forward to getting the kids playing again. The Heritage Pie Contest at auction was a great success this year. Congratulations to all the winners and those that participated. I will say that unfortunately our town supervisor was unable to secure his pie as he lost out to the 11-year-old with deep pockets and a bigger scoop.
Gordy Bell's grandson.
There you go. We will be having a Halloween party on Friday, October 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. Call the rec department for signups. But I do want to just say, again, thank you to Ashley and her department. They did an excellent job at Heritage Day. If you saw the donut eating contest with the kids, it was absolutely hysterical, and they did a great job. Our constabulary report this month included 14 neighbor to neighbors and quality of life complaints, 5 resident traffic complaints, Crum Road, Cherrytown Road, Whitfield Road, Lower Whitfield Road, and Metacox Road. 2 environmental complaints, Whitfield Road and Rochester Center Road. 6 new building department violations. 2 court cases opened, 9 court proceedings remain open, and 0 court proceedings are closed. Interesting occurrences, traffic complaints were again up this month, including increased number of complaints regarding traffic volume, speeds, and erratic operation of vehicles on town roads. Trespassing and harassment complaints are up this month, and investigations are ongoing. The constabulary assisted the animal control officer with a court summons for a dog at large complaint. Residents called for assistance with an assault on his person. This was already a New York State case, trooper's case. They were notified, short-term rental properties continue to generate increased number of complaints that include trespassing, loud noise, road and driveway blockages, garbage and trash dumping. The constabulary continues to work with the building department on those issues. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have decreased this month and have been diffused without further action. And again, we do want to thank our constabulary. I think they said 13 hours making sure that they were monitoring the traffic flow and securing the ends of Main
Yes.
Street.
Did you mention the Halloween party?
I did.
Okay,
Sorry,
sorry,
I have an Halloween.
I missed it. I knew we were having one. I just. Okay, the assessors report. Our assessor has been out a little briefly, suffering from illness. However, he sent this to me. They're continuing to organize the office to make it more efficient, and they are doing property inspections as time permits. They're working on processing sales, entering building permits, certificates of completion. They're pulling plans from the building department and comparing them to what they are identifying. And they're assisting daily, assisting the general public for deeds, tax maps, and owner information. They're preparing for sending out exemption notices, which are due back March 1st. So if anybody you know, especially seniors, they will get letters, they will get follow-ups. We do a really good job of making sure we get to everybody so they get those exemptions, because we know how important it is. I will say, being right across my office, directly across from the assessor's office, we've been fielding a lot of calls. I'm sure everybody saw there was a significant increase in the school taxes this year, 5% increase. We have been answering those and dealing with those, and we are checking exemptions at anybody who calls to make sure that they are getting all the exemptions that they should be getting, that they're registered for, that they should be registered for. Sadly, many people are not happy that we can't help them, but we tell them school taxes are the school. We give them the number of the school. We give them the person to talk to. But if their exemptions are all up to date, and if we check that their assessment is correct, nothing on our end is changing that. I have learned that the school district has the ability to raise the exemption level. The town exemption level for seniors is at the highest that New York State allows us, as are most municipalities. I've learned that the school district has not changed their exemption level to match the highest. They plan to go to a school board meeting, bring this to their attention, and ask that they consider raising their exemption level for seniors to match the highest allowable. And I would encourage anybody else to do that as well. I can give you, I unfortunately did not bring all the details with me, but I have a report of where they can be and where they are, and I'd be happy to share more details with anybody who would be interested. So I'm going to find out when their next school board meeting is, and I plan to go and speak on behalf of the residents and say, please try to fix this. So that's assessor's report. And then moving forward to public comment. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Kate. Excuse me.
So the HPC at Heritage Day, Historic Preservation gave out awards to those homeowners who renovated their homes with keeping historical character or renovating towards its historic origins. So this year recipients were Frank Macchione and Keith Edelman of Preston Penn, Adam Boone of the 1078 Samsonville Road, the Reservoir House, many know as that, or the Gray House. Hank Hijink of Appledorn Farm, and Nancy Furdams of the Whitfield one-room schoolhouse. This was very well received, and the HPC is looking to do this yearly. The HPC now, the after-school program starting, we will have to find a new location. I did put it out there that we have offered up the museum, and there's been a little discussion back and forth with that. And once that's finalized, we will advertise where the HPC will be meeting.
And also, the HPC has taken on a project of the yellow and blue historical markers that you see along the roadways. They have contracted with the funding that we give them each year to have those signs sanded, repainted, and basically made back. So I just received a quote from the gentleman who has sort of become the town sign maker. He's done many of our signs, does very nice work, a very reasonable price as far as I'm concerned. So he may not be able to do them this fall because temperature issues. The temperature has to be above a certain amount. I think it was 55 degrees C. Is that correct? Yeah. So they may have to wait until the spring, but he is going to do 3. If he can, he'll do 3 this year and 3 in the spring, or he'll do all 6 in the spring. But our HPC has become very, very active. We have 2 of our members here. Thank you both for all the work you do. Looking forward to getting those signs redone. So, and the awards to the residents, I think, was a fabulous idea. I don't know who to give credit to. That Medenbach, okay. It's a wonderful idea, and I think the 4 recipients were very appreciative, and moving forward, trying to make it an annual thing. I think it's a really wonderful thing. So, thank you. So our boards and commissions are doing great work. Now public comment. Anyone wishes to speak? I'm going to start with Mr. Nurko and give him the.
Thank you, Supervisor Baden, and thank you, members of the town board, for formalizing the partnership with PayPal. That $175,000 to be invested in making our community thank you, a much safer place to live. We're having paid staff respond to 911 calls when our volunteers are unavailable. Prior months, we had a response rate of 80-something%. That's miserable when your life's on the line and you want people there right away. We're high 90s right now, and that's going to continue. The second aspect of this investment is making sure we have the good equipment needed to stock our ambulance. We drive to your house, we essentially have emergency room at your location ready to serve you. And we're updating outdated equipment, making sure the best equipment is there possible. Third thing we're doing with the funds is getting better training for our staff. We recently invested in autism spectrum disorder awareness training. That allows us to relate people in the community, usually children, with behavioral emergencies. Our responders were offered 2 autism spectrum disorder training sessions, and Sergeant McCarthy here put it to good use recently on a call. And we were able to de-escalate a situation, make sure it was managed in a safe and appropriate manner. So all these investments are really, really well needed. I commend the town board for their partnership. We look forward to serving our community. Thank you.
We just would like to say real quick, thank you. Thank you for working with us. I know we had a little bit of a struggle. I'm glad we got it done. We look forward to the great investment of this money. So thank you. Thank you to the Marbletown First Aid Unit for what they do. Thank you to the Accord Fire District for what they do in our community. It's all those dedicated people that keep this community going. So thank you to all our first responders for all the work they do and the tireless hours they put into it. So thank you. Clayton.
First, thank you. Good job, guys, and everybody else that was involved. Okay, and the board for finally approving that. It was necessary. I want to touch base on resolution J on your agenda. We have the constables that are out there now. All right, we're looking to establish 4 positions, 3 core positions. Right. I question the board of doing that. Not necessarily setting up the positions, but you're delving into a MPTC training situation where the supervisor is going to head this up. And this is no offense, Mike, but it's going to take certain training to understand what needs to happen in response to that area and report writing, generating reports, and protecting these staff members. I would encourage the board, I even know it may cost money and I hate spending money, everybody knows that, I'm cheap as they come. Set up a possible commission. Get in front of this, because if you start dedicating individuals to a final location and to the potential of using the physical force, you're leaving them up for lawsuits and other potential problems. And it's strictly gonna compromise a lot, things go south quick. And I can tell you in a courtroom, those people that are in there are not there for being good and looking for resolution into a crime. They're there because they committed a crime, okay? And you're gonna see some bad things happen. One simple use of force where somebody breaks a fingernail, and the town will be sued for that, okay? Setting up a commission shows good faith and can mitigate lawsuits in the future, all right? So that touches on K too, because if you follow through on J, then you would go to K. The other thing is, I appreciate, and this is resolution O, it has to do with contract. I appreciate clarity on the contract. Everything sounds great, and I appreciate you explaining how that 25% comes into effect, because it's very misleading. Leave it to the newspapers to try to sell ad space, okay? And they did, they got me, okay? But there's one thing that you didn't address, and that was the elephant in the room, the $9,000 raise. Okay, we were here last year. We expressed our displeasure to a $9,000 raise. $9,000 raise equates to a 23% raise. You're mirroring what you asked for last year. Please, nobody's saying that you're not entitled to a raise. I said it last year. Every one of us is entitled to a raise. Stop taking such a big bite of the apple at the time. Okay, I understand you reach for high and you settle for low. Hope you come somewhere in the middle. You can't. Okay, you need to visit this budget and figure that out. It'll help bring that total down where you're exceeding the budget line, which I know you're never going to reach that 104,000. I think is the number that you have. You're not going to reach that. Nobody's asking you to cut $76,000 off the budget, and nobody's asking you to take a raise that's not reasonable. 9,000 is a lot at one fell swoop. All right, consider that. Consider that. And that's what I got for it now.
Thank you. Ms. Avery.
Downtown schoolhouse, I know it's your subject.
Understood.
You can get a rider on your insurance for 1 day, and maybe if you do it careful, we get smaller equipment than the town owns. Of volunteers who go in there with small backhoes, smaller bulldozers, and operators that know what they're doing, and get in there and get that done before winter sets in. Is it possible we could do something like that? I don't want to lose the firehouse, the schoolhouse. It's on the national registry. It's got to be preserved. Is it something we can look into?
Let me finish public comment and then I'll address it during board member time, but I'll be happy to address it.
And another thing I wanted to say, Social Security gave us senior citizens 5.9 raise last year. And you're getting 23%. I don't know where the hell you think the money's coming from. This is a large town of senior citizens. Some people didn't plan on getting disabled at the age of 42 or having cancer at the age of 45. And getting put on disability forever. Something to think about.
Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Joe B. I live in the Alexandria district on Cherry Hill Road. I am a 17-year member, volunteer, even driver for the current board chair. And in September 14th, 2020, Chris Hewitt and I sat in his garden and talked about the challenges of having enough volunteers to staff at First City Squad. And in January, we had a meeting where it was a Zoom meeting, and members of KFAS were there, town board members from Rochester, Rosendale, and Marbletown. And I'm pretty sure that might have been the first time the term ambulance improvement district came up. And what I just want to do is thank the community and thank this board and previous board members for the work that went into getting educated about EMS and figuring out how to make this funding mechanism happen. It's clear that community members, I think I can speak for most of us, like support, right? Spending a few bucks to know that there is a crew sitting in the building, sitting in the building. And if we think about, there was a point at which I think there was dialogue where we talked about paying about per call or figuring out what the numbers were in that way. And instead, we realized that what we're paying for is readiness. That we're paying to have expert folks at the ready. And that's what they have in urban areas. And now we have that here. So hats off to all of you and all of us for making that happen. Having the vision.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
I was, in the report from the assessor's office that you gave, you did say that we were available for counseling, correct? Because I know.
Let me correct that, to the property owner. So deeds to a non-property owner can be secured through the Ulster County Clerk. However, our assessor's office, as a convenience, will make them available to the owner of the property. There have been cases where people have faked deeds and stolen people's property. So just to clarify, and I apologize, I did what I said I wouldn't do. I'm sorry.
No, it's really good to keep that down level. Firstly, for seniors, so they don't have to go out to school. And secondly, there's a third way to get money. You can pay for it, and you don't have to do anything. But this had happened to two people. They were told they could not get used to that. It was very disappointing to me because you don't have to travel to Kingston now because it's more convenient than the giving. And the one person was told that the assessor here had made a deal with the county to get the deeds. The person called the county said, no, there's been no deal, but you come here to get the deeds, but you should be able to get it at the town level also.
This is the first I'm hearing. about
Okay,
that, so.
that's, I'm still out there as a community. Regarding, the appointments to, court review. I have a letter that was forwarded to you, Kelly Conlon, Criminal Justice Program Specialist, and, I don't know if Kelly is a man or a woman. Mary Lou, this is for you. This person advises that the municipal attorney will need to review CPL 2.10 and determine if they feel the designation under same will apply to what they're seeking. And further it goes, it repeats the CPL 2.10 with regard to the fact that they can't be court officers and constables at the same time. And unless there is an appointment or if not, new legislation will be needed to enact and approved by the governor in order for the positions to be created and added as a subdivision under CPL 2.10. And again, you know, what I know about training of police or security officers is fitness and that young man told me he lived for 26 years. So I would say to you, and there are several others who are doing the same thing, I would say check into this a little more before you put forward this position for the safety department. It seems that even though I don't converse with my son, he has the same ideas. On subject of discussion here. Last year, my from 2021 to 2022, we were at $72,670 in 2021. Your increase in 2022 was 83,980 for the budget. That was for your town supervisor position, your town budget position, town budget officer position. That's added into that. So.
83,000?
And so,
That's including, yeah, that's including all staff.
I thought it was just on the line one, not one.
No, it's not.
don't look at this one.
Yeah, I believe, yeah, but anyway,
All right,
continue.
well, in that case, be it 11,000 less, whatever the less is, I don't remember the fraction. You proposed amount for this year, and this year, if my numbers are correct, 93.6 plus, that's for the supervisor's position, and the budget officer's position is 91. If those numbers are correct, that would put you at $102,700.
Those numbers are not correct.
Well, they
I-
are off the
I
town.
would, I would be happy to talk to you offline and
That's
tell me
fine.
where those numbers are
Then
coming.
I would like correction to these numbers, because I went to the town website and got the numbers, and I'd be more than happy to discuss it with you one-on-one. If that's the case, then I conclude.
I believe that's the summary.
I have one.
Okay, Clayton had his hand up first. There was
Sorry, I don't see that we're gonna have 12 now, 3 people in this room, they're gonna have my head. The Halloween party, you guys have a Halloween party, with kids on 28th, don't let them take their costumes off, because the next morning, we've got pancake breakfast too, that's happening. That's a costume party. So kids love dressing up, it's a great opportunity for them, get them out here. Little contest for them, get some opportunity to wear their costumes 3 times a year.
8 to 11.
Thank you. Yes,
Okay, now we have established, if I'm not going to ask for the ambulance district, are we going to be allowed as John Q. Public to have an ambulance or a commissioner similar to the fire district?
let me take the rest of the questions and then I'll address it, okay? But yes, so yes is the short answer, but not quite the same, but yes. It's a little different formation. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say nice job on Heritage Day, the fireworks this past week.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. We thank Mr. Palmer for connecting us with Santora's Fireworks out of up near Albany, and they do all his fireworks, and they did a really nice job last year. In the so, thank you. Anyone else tonight? Public comment. Okay, now Ms. Avery. First question about the Down Schoolhouse. I have been trying to get connection with Mr. Medenbach to figure out what we have to do there for the drainage issue.
I thought Wilton had that all under control. Wilton started meetings with us, so he knew exactly what we needed to do.
Well, I don't know. He just said, he and Bill DeGraw told me that there needed to be some drainage work done, and but did not convey exact, I mean, in general terms, yes, but been trying to connect with Mr. Medenbach. I'm hoping, I spoke with him again at Heritage Day, and hopefully he and I will be able to connect next week and get there and
Is it feasible for you to get out
to do the work. Possibly, we do have to be concerned about insurance. And,
One
but,
day either?
yep, exactly. So it is
It would be a
feasible.
lot cheaper to equipment from the town staff.
Agreed.
And I
Agreed.
know there's volunteers, because I think people in.
Yeah. And if I'm certain we can do that. I just wanted to get Mr. Medenbach, who is the town's engineer, to tell us what we need to do and then go through that. The second question is, yes, as part of the ambulance district, there will be 2 board of it. I forgot the exact title under the law. It's either board of advisors or board of commissioners. They are responsible as the go-between between the town board and the first aid squad. They only deal with the financial aspect of it. They will, then the district will create their budget. For this year, for the 2023 year, it is capped for Cohasset Accord at 175 because we put a not to exceed that was based on the amount that was conveyed to us. For Marbletown First Aid, it's $15,500, not to exceed. They do a much smaller portion of the community. We will have two boards of commissioners. They have to be established by local law. We can either set it up that they are either voted on or they can be appointed. The board has been moving to get the ambulance district created as of September 1st. That was officially created. Now we have to work with the assessor's office to identify the parcels that are in those districts. And if anybody's ever looked at the ambulance lines, I'm sure some of the ambulance people can tell you, yeah, they split parcels. There's no rhyme or reason how they were drawn. So all those split parcels, we have to apportion part of it taxes in one district and part of the taxes in the other district. I know it doesn't make any physical sense, but that is because we have to follow those lines. That's what we have to do. So we're working on that because all that has to be done before the final budget is due on the 20th. So we can figure out the actual taxable value. Once that's all done, we will move to the next step, which is the Board of Commissioners.
So that doesn't have to be done because we're just salary out already.
Because this first year is already set, but yeah, and Marbletown did the same thing. Marbletown set their dollar amount and then moved forward with it. I believe they now have a Board of
I
Commissioners.
mean, I just didn't want to you have to get Cohasset Accord or down the bubble.
No.
We're not having to move them, they have tax dollars.
No, we're all set for the first year because the not to exceed. So I mean, if they were to come back with a budget and say, hey, we only need 160,000, well, then we can put that in. But I think we're going to stick with the not to exceed number for next year. I doubt we're going to go lower. I don't think anybody's looking to go lower. So, but then that board will work with the squad and the town during the year, and they will be the go-between on collecting the required reporting that must be done. There has to be a quarterly, just sort of, this is what the money is being used for, report back. So thank you very much.
Well, that's like for the HPC, they started a meeting last month and didn't know that they paid for half of us for the bond day.
They approved it at the meeting.
No, they did not.
Absolutely, they sure did. Absolutely.
I read all the minutes and it was none of the minutes.
I stood here with my back out and asked them if they would approve to pay for it
And
in
they never
June.
made the minutes.
Well, it happened.
Because when I asked her something, Alex talked to her in the meeting.
She wasn't at the meeting. But it absolutely happened. I do not want to get accused of trying to push something like that.
Okay. Next, moving to town board member time. Any board members have items?
I have one item, that on October 23rd, our, public information session returned. We took a break on, in the month of September, and, Councilman Coleman and I will be offering another zoning, 101 and, question and answer session on the 23rd.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, moving to resolutions. The first is action on the minutes. Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the minutes of the September 1st public hearing, September 1st business meeting, September 21st public hearing, September 21st workshop meeting, September 29th audit meeting, September 29th public hearings, as were corrected. There were just a couple of corrections that were made on the details that and the one misspelling that was correct.
I'll make that motion.
Second. We want to wait for Charlotte to return, or do we can pass it moving forward.
I think we are.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. So you can just, Charlotte. Thank you. Oh, maybe she'll be right back. We'll move on. Next, we have to do an amendment to the resolution for the audit. Town of Rochester Town Board amends resolution, and it was 398 of 2022 to approve for payment of highway fund vouchers in the amount of $49,799.94. That's the corrected amount for abstract 9 of 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
There was a voucher from Van Cleef's Tire that was inadvertently included. The check and the voucher crossed in the mail, and when we went to enter it, we discovered that the voucher had already been paid, so we. Next, acceptance of a donation. Town of Rochester Town Board accepts donation of $554.80 from the Rondout Valley Education Foundation for the purchase of the Summer Youth Program T-shirts and $69.39 from St. Pauli Textile.
Motion. I'll second.
We appreciate the foundation has done that several years now, that's why their donation is such a specific amount. They refund us the amount of what the t-shirts cost each year. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Next, appointment to the ECC. Town of Rochester Town Board appoints James Easley to membership of the Environmental Conservation Commission for a term ending December 31, 2024. Request the town clerk inform of the oath of office requirements.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
My apologies, I neglected to send you his email request. Aaron happens to, I believe, know.
I
Or
also
you-
received it and he's been at ECC meetings. So that's how I,
Yeah,
Got it.
his background, he was an environmental,
yeah.
I don't remember, he has a very, very extensive environmental background.
I can pull it up if the board would like.
Or we could share it
Yeah. I
after
can pull
the
it.
fact.
Sure.
Yeah, and my apologies, I didn't feel the need to bring him in. We have several open positions, and since we have somebody who's interested, I just told him to. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. We will forward his info to you. Next, authorizing the supervisor to initiate renewal of a contract. I have the information for you here from Marshall and Sterling. This is the retiree program that goes into effect. Here is the email that came from our insurance broker. So the resolution, Town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor to renew MVP USA Care PPO plan for the plan year 1/1/23 to 12/31/23, as presented by Marshall and Sterling, for the supervisor to sign the agreement covering retirees enrolled in town health insurance. The rates are actually decreasing by 0.48%. The current rate is costing the town $371.13 per month. The renewing rate is $369.36 per month. And this is actually, if I remember right, I believe it's the third year in a row that it's actually gone down. I know it went down last year. I think it went down 2 years ago. So, and the changes in it are that this is the MVP Gold Plan. The well-being rewards are being retired, but there is a new 2023 program called Get Set Up through the Silver Sneakers. Dwight was still here. He probably could explain. I've heard this term Silver Sneakers used a lot. I think it's something with Medicare, I believe. Thank you. I appreciate it. The other changes, the 4,660 is the initial coverage limit, $7,400 true out of pocket $4.15 and 1035. That's probably single and family catastrophic copay. We don't, everybody in our plan is individual. Each person is an individual.
Adam. You do that.
Following benefits are included in the plan. There is $100 eyewear allowance. Mom's meals, they can get 2 meals a day for 7 days following inpatient hospital stay. And I can tell you from experience, when my father was living with me, he was on this plan, and suddenly this box that we didn't even ask for just showed up on our doorstep one day, and it was back then, I think it was 10 days, 20 frozen meals, and so it's a very good program. It's we have a small number of retirees that are enrolled in this, and it's a decrease. So I think I'm going to make the motion that we authorize this.
I'll second.
I'm just going to state too, just to be clear, for full disclosure, both your parents are on this plan, but it doesn't, I don't believe you have any conflict. I'll leave it to you if you do. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Thank you very much. We are now set for health insurance for next year. Change in the meeting date. The Town of Rochester Town Board changes the special meeting scheduled for October 17th, 2022 to October 21st, 2022, 6 p.m. at the Herald Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York. Request the town clerk post legal notice.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, have a second? I'll second it. This is moving from a Monday to a Friday. I know it is a Friday, but we did talk, and we talked about these, that we didn't mind meeting on a Friday.
I can't.
You can, okay. Is there a different date that we can do it then? Because,
I got called into Chicago for week of the 17th. I'm back to late on the 20th.
I think that night that there will be a baby.
that's
My
okay.
husband's working.
Which night?
The 21st of Friday.
You can't.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. What nights could you do?
I think I have more flexibility. So we have the one on the 13th.
There's one on the 13th, we have the one on the
And
26th,
you're gone.
and we have to be done, we want to be done on the 27th.
Monday, Friday, the 14th.
I could do that. I don't know.
We could start later too, Aaron, if that helps.
No, that doesn't work.
Okay.
So right now we have 13.
Right now, we have scheduled the 13th, the 17th, which is the one we're looking to move, and the 26th. We could meet the 24th, possibly a Monday. You know, is the planning board, are they doing a workshop meeting? And if they are, it would be Halloween, but I don't know if they would.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
I could do
I
the
don't-
24th.
I can do
I can.
24. I can do 24.
I think that works.
Okay,
Right, that's not, yeah, that's not.
we want to go for that date then instead of the 21st? Okay,
I mean, it puts us in the crunch section.
it does,
We'll get it
but
done.
we'll get it done.
Get it done.
If we have to at the audit meeting, we'll stay as late as we have to finish it.
Thank you guys. I
It'll be
appreciate it.
fresh on our mind.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to amend the motion, and Adam, you okay with amending the motion
Yes.
to change the date to the 24th? Who seconded it?
I second it.
Okay, you're okay with the amending? it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to amend the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6 o'clock. Put them in your calendars. Next, appointment of employment position on request of the highway superintendent, not he, sorry. Town of Rochester Town Board appoints Patrick Davis to the position of MEO seasonal for the period of October 1st, 2022 through December 31, 2022, at a pay rate of $24.85 per hour for hours worked, subject to approval by the Ulster County Personnel Department. The employee is not subject to the collective bargaining agreement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
The reason we're doing it this way this year, in the past, we've appointed them as for a period of October through March 31st. Ulster County Personnel pointed out pretty strongly last year that seasonal workers can only be a 3-month appointment. So he's going to be October through December, and then we're going to make another appointment January to March. And that is okay. It's just, we can't do a seasonal more than 3 months. Go figure, they figure a season 3 months. So it's always been done that way. It was never a problem. It was never pointed out until last year. It was pointed out. So, so that's why we're doing it this way. Can I get a motion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay, next is the 284 agreement. All the information is included in there, but I have a copy of Highway Superintendent Fry's letter to us. Now I have an extra copy. Mary Lou, I have a copy for you. He's requesting a resolution from the town board approving the attached in accordance with section 284 of the highway law. I will let you go read it on your own time if you choose to, but essentially is an agreement between the town board, who is in charge of the money, and the highway superintendent, who's in charge of the roads, of what they are, that person is going to be committing the funds toward. So for 2022, what we did is and some of these, I don't know the differences between the various styles of working on the road. I know we're doing a lot of different methods on different roads. Nova chip on Queens Highway, not to exceed $176,228.29. The fiber mat on Rocky Mountain Road, not to exceed $47,896.41. Oil and chip was done on Boyce Mill Road, Leghorn Road, Rose Hill Road, Trails End Road, Van Tyne Road. Total was not to exceed $92,422.98. Pug Mill pave was done on Skirn Hill Road, not to exceed $50,000. Crack seal was done on Boyce Mill Road, not to exceed $15,000. Blacktop on Cedar Drive, not to exceed $206,000. Blacktop on Cherry Hill, not to exceed $37,000. Bog seal on Rocky Mountain Road, not to exceed $10,000. New guide rail on Queens Highway, not to exceed $6,000. And we also purchased 500 tons of 1A stone, not to exceed $20,000. And we purchased a piece of equipment, a hot box 4-ton, not to exceed $35,000. The total amount for all this was, or is, I should have put it in the road. Oh, I did. $695,547.68. I did not bring the CHIPS request paperwork with me, but if I remember correctly, the CHIPS reimbursement is approximately $621,000, give or take a little bit from that. So about 90% of this is fundable from our CHIPS, and we still have additional CHIPS money available. For some reason, Jeff is not able to apply some of this toward the CHIPS. But this is the permanent improvement work that we did on the roads. So with all that said, I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next, I have 4 copies of not of the agreement, I will be attaching the signature form to the agreement. It must be individually signed by each board member that we agree to this. So I'll pass it around. You could sign 4 times, 1 on each page, and we will file that tomorrow. Next, moving to item J. I'll date the top part, just sign for now, and I'll date the top as. Before we make the resolution, given the comments tonight, does the board want to table this for the moment? I will say, these positions are not new positions. These positions have existed in Ulster County employment for the town of Rochester for a number of years. Prior to using the constables for court security, we had court security officers. The positions existed within civil service. We received the job description for them. The people that we would be appointing have done the training because they are constables. I was in my investigation, they would not be serving as a constable while they were court officers, but in my investigation, constables, and in Judge LaFlamme's investigation, constables can be court officers during off-duty times. They just can't be the chief of the constable or chief of a police force is not allowed to be a court officer. And they also cannot be a court officer if they would be testifying in any case while they couldn't jump back and forth in roles. It was pretty clear to me that we were okay, given the comments brought tonight. I would maybe want to investigate a little more, see if there are anything that we did miss. We did do pretty thorough investigation of this, and the justices themselves also did investigation. The reason we are doing this is partially because of staffing issues and partially because of who is allowed to be a court officer at a given time. We ran into some issues where our chief constable was having to jump back and forth between prosecuting building code violations and then being a court officer. And one thing is very clear, you cannot do that. Exactly. So it is very clear you cannot do that. There is no question in the ruling of law. So that was the reasoning behind this. But we can investigate some more to make sure that we have.
Charmin, I think there's the confusion between the Department of Justice and what they allow, not the civil servants within the job description.
Agreed.
I think is what's going on, just to give some direction for that clarity.
Correct. And I will ask the justices, because our town justices did speak to the Albany justice, the court, and we're told that constables can be court officers as long as they are not serving as a constable at the same time. It's only the chief or a police officer. A police officer is allowed to be a court officer. A constable, a peace officer, is allowed to be a court officer. They just cannot be both at the same moment. They can hold both titles, and as they're both part-time jobs, there would be no issue with that, in my understanding.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And the justices did go to the Office of Court Administration to verify that. But I'm more than happy to look into the things that be brought up. I took some notes, but I couldn't hear everything that she said. So if someone tomorrow could provide me with the sections that she was speaking of, I would appreciate that.
would you be able to just email me the section fee that you?
If you want to write it down.
Okay, sure.
It's CPL.
CPL. Yep.
2.10.
2.10. Okay, thank you very much. We will follow up on that. So given that, I'm going to we'll table both of these resolutions for the evening, and we will follow up. And as soon as we get a resolve on that, and then I'll bring it back, or I'll bring back a different resolution, or I'll bring back answers. So Next amendment to a resolution, the Town of Rochester Town Board adopted Resolution 364, 2022 on September 1st, 2022, establishing the special district Kerhonkson-Accord Ambulance District for the benefit of all of the property and property owners in the proposed ambulance district. Due to limitations by the Ulster County Real Property System, the name is hereby changed to I'm proposing Rochester Ambulance District. I'm open to other board consideration. I'll make the resolution for discussion, then I'll tell you the reason behind this. I have a second?
I'll second.
The problem is, in the system, they are allowed a 20-character limit for the name. It cannot exceed that, and the full name has to show. It can't just be an abbreviation. So Kerhonkson-Accord Ambulance, not the word district, but Kerhonkson-Accord Ambulance is more than 20 characters. Rochester Ambulance, however, is less than 20. That's my idea. If somebody has a different idea for a name, I'm okay with that. It was what popped into my head, so.
Now, are they going to have to change their?
No. This is the name of the taxing district. It's a paperwork thing. We have to say the Rochester Ambulance District is this district. Nobody else has to, the coverage is still the same. It's a naming thing in a computer, and it's because the system only allows 20 characters. Exactly. It's kind of silly, but it's the real property called me 2 days ago and said, we got a problem. We're also going to have a problem on M, and I'll explain that one, a different problem. But so for this one, I'm proposing Rochester. If somebody has a,
Do we not think there's gonna be confusion with the city of Rochester?
this is county. This is only
Oh,
Ulster
just
County.
Ulster
This
County.
is a special district in Ulster County. Only Ulster County real property will care about this. Rochester Ambulance, I think when I counted
It's 18,
18
yeah, I
characters.
just counted it.
Yeah,
We only really got
yeah.
two.
We couldn't really say town of, because then we got 6 more
Or
letters.
TOR, like we.
Yeah, not even that.
Oh,
we're
we can't even
21.
abbreviate that.
Yeah, it seemed to make sense to me. I think
Yeah, that seems fine if it's only countywide. I was
it's
just
only
worried for
countywide.
confusion.
It's the name on the tax bill
Statewide.
that's gonna come. And it's the name in the
Oh, it's the
system.
name on the, I think that will.
It's the name on the tax bill. So,
If we're going on the town. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The spaces.
I didn't ask. I didn't get into that part.
Wait,
Yeah,
let me-
Rochester's fine.
Hold
Okay.
on, wait, let me just.
We could do Accord with no space, Kerhonkson District. With no space between Accord.
I think the ambulance part is important though, because it should say what it's for. They usually say street lighting, water, what the topic is. I think the ambulance part,
Since our contract says.
Yeah. I think the ambulance part should be on there. That's why I came up with Rochester.
I just worry if it's going on tax bills like that, that people are gonna get very confused why it's not town of Rochester.
I don't think so.
No, all right.
I think we've made
We
it.
can
pretty-
change it in the resolution again.
I don't know. We have to do this now.
And
Not
probably
coming back.
I would say
coming
no. On the town of Rochester tax.
Oh,
bill.
okay, so then that's fine, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I
on
thought
the
it
town
was
of
town of
Rochester
Rochester
tax
was
bill.
before I saw there, 'cause I'm like,
No.
I.
It's only
get
gonna
my
show on the
dollar,
town,
my
I
dollar.
think we're maybe overthinking it. It's gonna show on the town of Rochester tax bill. The
Yeah,
only place it's gonna show.
one thing, my father who doesn't read details will just see Rochester and be like, they charged me the wrong thing, and like for the wrong city, so.
He'll
I know
call,
if it's already on there
Volume.
somewhere else,
or he'll call Kate.
Yeah.
that's all right, he rents the place anyway, he doesn't.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do you want to notify Tracy of that tomorrow, or I can? Let her know. Yeah. Okay. Next, amendment to the resolution. Town of Rochester Town Board adopted Resolution 365 of 2022 on September 1st, 2022, establishing the special district Marbletown Ambulance District for the benefit of all the property and property owners in the proposed ambulance district. due to limitations by the Ulster County Real Property System. The name is hereby changed to High Falls Ambulance District. I'll make the motion. Second.
Second.
Again, in this case, it's because Marbletown, the town of Marbletown called their district Marbletown Ambulance
Yeah.
District. There can't be two districts in the county that have the same name. Didn't think about it when we set the name. I'm proposing High Falls because it covers the High Falls area of the town of Rochester. It more or less parallels the zip code, High Falls zip code. We could call it the Algerville Ambulance
Is that too
District.
many though? That's a lot.
Yes, and yes, so in Canada.
Algerville's in Rochester. My fault.
Well, the zip code is.
Let's just make 13 for random names. Would be Rochester too.
Algerville Ambulance is 21. We could have Rochester 1 and Rochester 2. Mary Lou suggested that to me earlier.
That's
So,
on farm.
Yeah, that's a.
oh, good point. Thank you for that point.
Algerville.
No, it doesn't.
Now it's
21.
21.
21.
Oh, we said we had 25.
Oh,
No,
20.
High Falls it is.
Yeah, High Falls sounds great.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Go on.
I think people are gonna know what it is. I really do. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. I admit, I didn't put a great amount of thought into either one
They're
after
good,
I
they're
found
really
out, as I found out about 20 minutes before I did the agenda, so.
I
I was
love.
saying you're trying to return all the ballots and.
Yeah. I'm gonna move N, or we already did move N and O to discussion item. Not that there's any issues. I just want to have a explanation and discussion. So P and Q, we have to set public hearings. Town of Rochester Town Board sets a public hearing on the 2023 Town of Rochester preliminary budget pursuant to Town Law, Section 108, to be held Thursday, November 3rd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. at the Herald Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York, 12404. Request the town clerk circulate public notice. The preliminary budget will be available for viewing at the town clerk's office, on the town website, and at the E-Code 360, and that's the link to where it is on the E-Code 360 on Friday, October 28th, 2022. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that one.
Have a second? Okay, for discussion, the tentative budget is up right now. It is viewable on the E-Code 360. It is viewable through the town clerk. We can make sure it gets up on the website as well. It's not already. That is the first step. The second step is after the board works on it, that's the preliminary. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. That also is the night of our November regular meeting, so we'll do these public hearings first, and then the regular meeting after that.
Did you say the regular budget is on the website?
The tentative budget,
What about the budget that's in existence right now?
that is on the website. Setting a public hearing, Town of Rochester Town Board sets a public hearing on local law 9 of 2022, the tax cap override pursuant to general municipal law, section 3C, to be held Thursday, November 3rd, 2022, immediately following the public hearing on the 2023 Town of Rochester preliminary budget at the Herald Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York, 12404, and request the town clerk circulate notice. I have a draft of that local law. It is the Association of Towns model law. Just filled in the blanks for our information. Copy for you, I can email it to you tomorrow. Mary Lou, I didn't send this to you because I just touched the Association of Towns model tax cap override. But I will send this to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
It's authorizing the town board to adopt a local law overriding the tax cap It must be done by a vote of 60% of the town board, which means 3 people have to vote yes, which is 60% of the town board anyway, so. And as I, do we get a motion second? Okay, I'll make that motion. Second.
I'll say.
As I explained earlier in the meeting, this is due to the addition of the ambulance districts. That is a new tax that was 0 in 2022 and has a much higher amount in 2023. And because of that, the 2 ambulance districts alone exceed the tax cap, and we will be over. So in order to do the ambulance district, I called the comptroller's office and spoke at length, and they reviewed it, and there is no dispensation for a new special district. So we must do it this year. My hope is that we never do it again. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, moving to discussion. The 2 agenda items, the contract in N and O, are the contract for the 2023. We've had 2 contracts now. Both contracts now are in effect until the end. I would like us to sort of get on these contracts and get them done before the end of the year. So when the taxation district kicks in, we roll into the new year with a signed agreed contract. What I was going to propose is taking the Marbletown contract that they agreed to sign for 2022 and the Cohasset Accord contract that we just agreed to sign tonight, change the dates to the appropriate 2023 year. The dollar amount would change to the 175, which is cannot exceed for Cohasset. It actually is 175 now. It would stay the same. The Marbletown, I think the current is 13.5 and is 13.5 and is going to 15,500 based on their projected estimate at the start of the ambulance district. Normally, we would get a budget from them, and then we would be setting the amount from there. So in order to get a jump on it, that's why I put 2 agenda items on tonight. I did have a couple questions verbally by the members of the board here about that, which is why I wanted to move it to a discussion item to say, sort of, what do you think about that? We could do a resolution tonight authorizing me to send them the same contract with just changing the dates and the dollar amounts as we just discussed, or I could bring it back to you guys at the workshop meeting. So what's the board's?
Well, I had 2 thoughts. One is, I had a question, which is, where exactly did we set the amount we couldn't exceed?
In the creation of the ambulance district, in that resolution, in the report and in the resolution, the amount to exceed had to be set in order to have the public hearings for the, so that's the amount to exceed for the first year.
Okay.
So to create the ambulance, if you go back in, you will see not to exceed $175,000, and for Marbletown First Aid, not to exceed 15,500. Both of those numbers came from those agencies when we first talked about the ambulance.
Yeah, in the report, it says an estimated amount, and then.
I think it was in the resolution. I'm gonna have to go back and find, but
I didn't see them.
yeah, that's state law. So I'm gonna have to go back and find it, but we cannot exceed what we asked, and I'm pretty sure in the resolution we did not exceed. I will double
I
check.
looked at the resolution from July 7th.
Off the top of my head,
Okay.
then I can't answer, but
Okay.
I know we can't exceed it. So the amount that was established cannot be exceeded. Because the permissive referendum had to be on both creation and on the dollar.
Okay.
So
It may have been in step one, maybe.
it may have been in,
The first one.
it probably was in the step one resolution, not in the
Okay.
actual creation.
Yeah, I was just couldn't, you had said that and I was like, where is that?
The language, I remember Mary Lou telling me that language, the not to exceed language, and that's in the state law
Okay,
when you, so we'll have to go back.
I'll go,
I'm fairly confident that we did it correctly, and even if we didn't, we can't exceed that amount anyway, so that's the answer to your question.
great. And then so I just have two comments and then I would like, be interested to hear what other board members have to say, and Mary Lou. So one is, first, I'm very glad that we were able to come to an agreement for 2022 and give and offer the ARPA funding of $175,000. With the creation of the ambulance improvement district, I do feel a greater sense of responsibility to the taxpayers since this is going to be an actual taxing district. And I know that part of why we're granted the authority to create special taxing districts is we're saying that all people, property owners and people living in that district benefit equally from what we're doing. So we've had some conversations previously about including language about I'm blanking on the response rate or that sort of thing to set, because part of what we're saying is that we'd like to see the hybrid model. And that is something that has been brought up for one of the benefits to increasing the funding, and I think everyone agrees. So that was one thing that I was interested to discuss with the squads about including in contact. And then the other thing is that for my question is budgetary wise, which is I have like a budget, a 5-year projected budget that we were sent last year, but I haven't received any sort of, and I know that's why I was pointing it out. We're set to receive a budget for next year in the contract we just signed on October 15th. And I understand we've set this number, but I feel like we should tie it to an actual budget. That's just my thinking. I don't legally have not been able to find much on that, but so that was kind of a question and a statement.
So the number was arrived at when we first started talking about the ambulance district, and we were talking about 2022 and the ARPA money simultaneously. I asked them both, and I have emails from them. What do you need in 2022? What do you project you'll need in 2023? We did get a 5-year plan.
Yes.
From KFAS, and I think we got a 3-year plan from Marbletown
Yeah.
or something along those lines. I admit their numbers are different. Obviously, prices have changed considerably. KFAS has now decided to go to the paid model, which was not contemplated in their
I
original.
think it is in the,
Oh,
it's
is
in the
it?
plan that we got. Yeah.
Okay. But the short answer is, even if they need more than 175, the taxing district can't be more than 175. And the taxing district for Marbletown can't be greater than 15.5. However, we could give more ARPA money next year if we chose to. We could possibly do that. I'm not saying we will, we won't. I'm just saying, but the taxes collected, now that we've gone to a taxing district, cannot exceed that amount. So we're going to be matching what we gave KFAS this year. We're going to be, and a lot of that money this year, and the reason they've upped it is equipment prices have gone up and things. So they're going to be buying that equipment this year. They're not going to need the same equipment next year, obviously. Much of this is durable equipment that will last year to year. Some of it is supplies and things like that. Some of it is for labor. So.
Well, so Mary Lou, do you know what is I know with the budget process we go through now, I know we in the town of Rochester have a very detailed budget. is the fiscal responsibility in the reporting of, because I know the town board, we do have to report, back. So do we have any of greater responsibility when we're setting the budget? Do we need an itemized budget? When, I know that we set the cap, but, typically we have more specific budget line items. And I just don't know. I'm
Right,
just-
but no, it's not our budget, it's their budget. We will
Okay.
contract with them to do the ambulance work in each district. We don't tell them how to do it. So that it's up to them how they're gonna use that. Now, in the future, when we have the commission, I think that the commission's gonna look at that to determine how much we should provide for the service. But that's
yeah.
their budget, and we'll probably ask to see it next year.
That's why this first year, the budget, and that's why that line in the contract that we just agreed to tonight, I don't mean to discredit it, but it doesn't really mean anything because we're, as Mary Lou said, we're contracting with them, we're giving them $175,000. Whether they spend it all, they don't spend it all, we're giving that to them. They're providing a service and we're providing X number of dollars for that service. So we do have to report back to the comptroller, but we just have to show that we paid them the money and that we have a signed contract with them for the money. The comptroller, from our perspective, isn't gonna ask, what did you do with that money? Because there's a budget line in the district. In our tentative budget, there's a blank space, but when we file our preliminary and our final budget, there will be a budget line in, there will be a separate bank account for these ambulance districts. Or it will be part of one, but it will be bookkeeping, it will be a separate, in terms of our QuickBooks account, it'll be a separate account. It may be may not physically be in a different account, but it'll be in QuickBooks. It'll be in a different account. So it'll be money in, we collect $175,000 in taxes, and then we're gonna issue an expenditure of $175,000 to them, leaving us zero. That's the only part we're obligated to report back to the comptroller, that we collected the taxes, that we paid it out. It's not a pass-through like the fire district is. The fire district, we collect their taxes, and Kate, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, as a convenience. They're their own taxing district. We have nothing to do with them other than Kate, as the tax collector for the town, collects all the taxes with the exception of school taxes. She collects the county taxes. She collects the fire taxes. She collects all the town taxes. And then she remits all that money to the supervisor, who then remits it to the proper agency, with the exception of the county, that she sends directly to the county. So she makes us whole with all our tax bills, and then whatever's left, she sends to the county, and then it's up to the county to chase the people that didn't pay to get their money back. I think that's just like the $1.98 version of what it does. So the reality of this is we're not under any obligation for the 175 for next year. For this year, it's a little bit different story in that I know we said last month, Mary Lou confirmed that there's no requirement for a contract for the ARPA money. However, any expenditure of federal money, no matter what situation it is, over $100,000, there is a whole other set of reporting requirements. So we will have to pursue getting some sort of accounting back for where that money we've given them goes to, but I'm sure they'll have no problem providing that. So, but that's strictly because the expenditure is over $100,000, and that's federal law for any federal spending greater than $100,000.
Yeah, I think it's 110,000, but
110? Okay, excuse me.
but either way, we're over it. You know, and so far we do have an estimated amount of $175,000 in the one contract and 15,500, I'm sorry, in the one district report, and 15,500 in the I guess we'll now call it the High Falls District
Yeah.
report.
That was in the report, but I think in
Right.
the initial resolution, I think we said not to exceed.
Yeah, I do not remember. I can't
We'll go back and look.
grab
We
that
got
off
the
the top of.
resolution.
So if you want to wait until the next meeting to make sure you have that right, that's fine.
Yeah, we can, there were questions anyway of whether, and I will tell you that other taxing districts do have the requirement of a report back on performance. Olive has it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Actually, Marbletown, we mirrored what the town of Marbletown did in their contract. It's in that contract. I don't think KFAS is gonna have any problem reporting
just a
back to
report
us
back.
what they're. It sounds like, based on Councilman Coleman's report and on what Mr. Mirko said tonight, that they're now in the 90% percentile instead of the 80-some percentile that they were at past, and that's the whole purpose of doing this. And I think it's going to continue that way. So I don't think they will have an issue with asking if we ask them for reporting back. But the financial part, other than there is no requirement. I started to say other than, but really there is no requirement. They report back to us what they do with that money. But Mary Lou sort of clarified too, when we have, once the board is set up, the first year is its own unique thing. Once the board is set up, the 3-person or 5-person board, whatever we decide it should be, they kind of become the go-between between the rescue squad and us. And they work with the rescue squad to determine, not to determine their budget, but to determine how much is going to be collected from the taxpayers. Because only the rescue squad knows of how much they're going to get in donations, how much they're going to get from insurance recoveries. We don't know any of that, and nor should we get involved in that. So that's, at least that's my opinion.
So personally, I think there are 2 responsibilities that I want to keep in mind with respect to the formation of these districts. So, as elected officials, we're here to provide services to the rest of the town. I think we also have a responsibility to protect the town. And as we know, that was one of the sticking points with the current contract, wanting to make sure that we're protected and identified against any kind of issues that happen as a result of these services being provided. The second thing is, I think we need to make sure this is not an insignificant amount of money. There are other services provided in the town that have similarly large amounts of money, but typically there's an elected official, there's some kind of recourse for the resident to be able to go and say, hey, there's a board of fire district commissioners, there's a town board, there's a town clerk, there's a highway supervisor. Those are all elected positions where the resident kind of intervene and voice their concerns about how dollars are being spent. In this case, we don't have that. So we have no oversight. We're talking about that right now. We have no oversight over how either of these districts operates. So I think it's kind of incumbent on us to make sure that when we set this up, that this contract has the necessary reporting, both for this first year and then kind of set the precedent for the eventual board of commissioners to be able to say, this is what the expectations. If you look at the reports that Marbletown First Aid Unit provides, their quarterly reports, the numbers are great, the response rates are great, but they also provide more details about what's going on, and there's more feedback that both we get and that the Marbletown board gets. So I think it's important to make sure that that's a part of the contract that we signed with them. I think it's also just an important check to kind of figure out if we want to release this in a single lump sum at a certain point in the year, or if we want to break this up in payments. This contract, I don't think it's structured with any kind of payments or any kind of milestone associated with that. So I do think if we're gonna have this taxing district money, we want to make sure that we have what we all feel comfortable with in terms of knowing that there's going to be some input at some points for us to have some kind of call and response with the 2 ones.
Aaron, I just looked in the resolution that we did in, it was June. It says, maybe it was July. It says the maximum amount proposed to be expended, but it does say maximum amount proposed.
Okay.
It's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's in the 6 whereas, and that resolution was um, the date it's saved on my computer is June 21st, so I don't know if it was a July meeting or, but I'll go back in the minutes and find it, but it does say maximum amount proposed.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, those are the, those are the two.
So to Aaron's point, and you know, and hear what Michael said, you know, and you know, this board or oversight commission is going to be responsible for what then?
Border oversight is a go-between. They will deal directly with the ambulance district during the year. They will then work with them to create the budget for the town portion of the money and come up with the amount in future.
Yeah.
Not this year,
Right.
but in future. We will pretty much be hands-off, not that I'm saying we won't be involved, but the board will be, they will be kind of an advisory board on behalf of the town to the ambulance district. I mean, I'm gonna have to go back through it, but it's primarily for financial. You know, they're not gonna tell them how to operate, any of that, but
Well, to kind of
Do you want me to read the, you want me
The-
to read you the provision of the law where you can designate the, you know, create the
please.
board?
yes, please.
All right. The town board may establish by local law a district board of ambulance commissioners and delegate ministerial functions related to the operation of the ambulance district to the commissioners. The district board of ambulance commissioners shall act in an advisory capacity to the town board with regard to other functions related to the operation of the district.
So it's the operation of the district, which is strictly financial.
So if they're handling the financial part, you know, you talk about responsibilities to the taxpayers, and we talk about measuring a response rate. So would it be, you know, feasible to put something in like, you know, quarterly payments contingent on a certain response rate? You know, or is that too restrictive?
Well, no, that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary Lou.
I don't think that you can make it contingent upon a certain response rate, that you're collecting this money from the taxpayers for this district.
Right.
I do know the, sorry, I interrupted there, but Wallkill, I believe, has, I'm not sure if it's Wallkill or Olive, where they have a contract and they pay quarterly, and they do say a minimum standard must be achieved, you know, but I agree with you, Mary Lou.
Are
once
they
the
a
taxes are
district though?
collected-
Is it
Uh,
an ambulance
I'd have
district
to
or
go
is it?
back and look. No, they are an ambulance district, I believe.
Our district is paid
Cause-
by, paid by.
Because my question is what
No, I mean the way the
is
contract is
is
set up.
what do we get for the 175? What do we go back to the taxpayers and say, what do we just buy?
Yeah, I don't think it would be, you know, unheard
but
of
how do you
to say
measure
to them, here's what you've said,
Well,
175.
Once
if
we
that's-
create that amount of money, it's
I get it.
where we can measure it is in the following year.
And I'm not saying it immediately, but where's the accountability?
No,
to
but
the
that's what I'm trying to
taxpayers?
say is. if
What
you
if
measure-
what if the rates fall back down into the mid-80s, but then instead of 22,000, now it's costing 175?
Right, but that's my point. The measurement is in the following year. If they ask for 175 and we look and you say, hey, you guys aren't spending that money, we're only gonna dedicate 85,000. I mean, I'm just making up a number.
Yeah.
But that's where the measurement is. It's from year to year. Once we establish that we're signing a contract with them by creating this district, we're giving them the money no matter what, essentially.
So take the quarterly part out of there though, but we do have,
Well, the quarterly, we could say we could disperse it quarterly, but there's no point in that because we're collecting all the money by the end of January. When the tax collector, the end of January, early February is when they turn over the money to us. The only reason to do it in increments is we don't always get all the taxes in time. Some people pay late, surprise, surprise. And so we may not have enough money to pay them at the end of January. We may have to say, we'll pay you 75%. I'm just making up a number, January 31st or February 1st, and we'll pay you the balance March 1st. Just to make sure, because if we don't have the money, we can't pay.
Yeah.
Because we can't pay out of another account. We can
Is that
only,
right? Is that-
what?
I mean, let's use the lighting district. Let's say Central Hudson decides to not turn off the lights. Like we still have to pay them because we collected the taxes.
No, the central lighting district is a very different example because we pay for a specific, they bill us for the electric bill each month. So the
But you're
lighting
saying we
district,
can't tie the services to, I'm not saying we have to do a level service.
but let me finish, please. The lighting district is a very different type of district. It's set up as we're paying, it's like a water district where people are paying for the amount of water they use. And sometimes it's the customers that are paying that. In our case, we are the customer. So we're collecting the taxes. We're only paying for the amount of electricity used. If there's anything left over at the end of the year, it goes into a fund balance, which has gotten considerable, which is why each year I'm applying about $8,000 of the fund balance toward the lighting district, to try to end that amount of fund balance.
But why could we not do something similar if they weren't? getting
Because we're
level
not,
service?
we're not paying a per call. We're not set up to pay a per call thing. That's my point. We're paying for actual use with the lighting district.
Mhm.
For the ambulance district, we're paying for a service 365, 724, 365. They are covering every minute of every day. So we're paying them a fee to do that service for a 1-year period. Thank you. There's no variable. Whereas on the lighting district, we're only paying for the amount of electricity we're using, whatever the bill is for that amount of electricity. So it's not an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, I guess I still want clarification because I mean, let's say they made a decision, their board decided to disband and we collect the money for it.
Well, then that's why you have a contract with them. If they decide to disband and they're not providing the service for X number of months, by all means, we could go back to them and get a partial payment. I
And
would
then we
believe.
can go out to bid for another time. If we're not happy after a year, if their statistics go down to like
Yeah.
20% answer rate,
But
something outrageous, we can go out to bid it.
please, can I ask that we just keep one meeting? The microphones are picking up you guys. It's really hard for the people at home. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
We can go out to bid for someone else, for the probably for that year, if we're unhappy with the service in any way, we're only obligated to pay them that 1 year. That
We're signing
I
a
don't foresee them
contract with
dropping
a
such a
vendor.
Of an extreme for us to want to do that, but
But to Aaron's point, where's our accountability to taxpayers to get our value out of it?
Well,
I don't know that we have that ability.
I like just to go back a second, I did like the idea of just, if we wanted to discuss, including language in the contract of a reporting requirement, not a service agreement.
yeah, just
Type,
that they
but
have
just
to
a
tell them that we
reporting
get their
requirement that would
statistics,
get
not that
reported
they
to
require us
the
to
commissioner,
confirm
but just as an accountability measure, I think that's not tied to,
that's
payment.
fine. But are we saying we can't tie it to payments or we don't want to tie it to payments?
I don't know.
Let's let Mary Lou find out, let us know. We're all guessing here. I don't believe we can. Once you create the district and we say we have this much money for the district, we're collecting the taxes for that district. We're obligated to then sign a contract with the vendor to service that district. In this case, either KFAS or Marbletown. We're going to them as the preferred vendor. If we went to one of them and they said, you know what, we don't want to do this anymore, then we could go out and find another vendor who had a certificate of need to cover our area and sign a contract with them.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't want to be able to terminate the convenience, but terminating for default is a completely different thing. Somebody's not providing.
I think if they're not providing it at
I'm
all.
not saying anyone's gonna do that.
No,
I'm
no,
saying,
but
I'm just curious, like,
In,
what are the protections?
are
of
we
the town?
protecting?
can I just finish trying what I'm trying to say, please? And under contract law, I think we're covered in that. I don't know for a fact, but if somebody breaks the terms of a contract and stops doing what they say they're gonna do from January 1 to December 31, I'm sure there's something in contract law that Mary would find that we should go
Oh,
legal.
I mean, we'll have a provision in it. We'll have a provision.
But I don't think we can choose to withhold the payments based on a level of service. You know, in the contract, they agreed to provide BLS service to the boundaries of the district for this period to this period. So I don't believe we can put a benchmarks on it and say, no, you didn't hit the benchmark, you don't get the money.
Yeah, and I'm not talking level of service, but I do think having a mechanism where we have to get reports to release the payment is useful, especially if we have to report back.
But we don't in the district. We only have to report back this year because it's not the same kind of money. This year,
It's ARPA money.
it's our money and it's ARPA money. It's $44,000 of taxpayer money. It's $131,000 of ARPA money. And the Marbletown is, we budgeted 5,000 and we paid them 13,500. So it's 5,000 of taxpayer money and 8,500 of ARPA money. The ARPA money is what triggers the reporting back, because every April I have to do a report of where we spent that money and how we spent it with some kind of documentation.
So we know that for sure. We don't need to report back.
We do not. It becomes part of our AUD, just like our street lighting district. I don't have to send a copy of every bill from Central Hudson back with our street lighting district. We do a report, we collected this much money, this budget line, we spent this much money. If the comptroller ever decides to come in and audit us, they can, but we're gonna have a voucher with a bill for next year, from Kerhonkson Accord for $175,000. We're gonna, at a voucher meeting, we're gonna sign those bills. There'll be another 2 more new accounts. We've got street lighting, escrow, highway general. Now we're gonna have
We
ambulance.
don't know what's going on.
Rochester ambulance, High Falls ambulance. We can merge them together into generic ambulance and they can be in one account, but. And you're gonna sign off a voucher for $175,000 and another voucher for $15,500, and we're gonna give them the money and we're done.
Right.
So,
We'll take a look at this next meeting.
yeah, I think I'll put it on our workshop meeting. Mary Lou, if you can do any research in the interim and just be sure, but I hear everybody's point, but by creating the ambulance district, we're not holding anybody's, other than they're agreeing by contract to provide these services. And like I said before, under contract law, if they stop providing the services that they say they're going to provide, absolutely, I think under contract law, we can go after them and say, you're not doing what you said. But I don't think we can put a benchmark and you have to reach this level of response. I don't think.
I think me and Aaron just wanted a report.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to clarify. We can ask for a report back quarterly or whatever we want, monthly, quarterly, whatever we want to do. The commissioners can ask for that.
Right, but and their function is ministerial,
Yeah.
so if we put it in the contract, then that's what they would do.
And that's who they would report back to, the commissioners, and the commissioners would forward it back to us and make their report to us.
But if they don't get it, we have no report.
I don't think so.
We'll find out
We'll find out.
Yeah, I like
on the
that.
We'll
next
find out.
episode.
I mean, if we don't get the report, I don't know if there's a valid reason why, for some reason county couldn't provide it or whatever. But I think those reports are made regularly. So I wouldn't think we wouldn't get it, so. But think about how you want to word it. I mean, you can look at the other contracts, but bear in mind those other contracts that I distributed to everybody. A number of them are not for ambulance districts.
Right.
They're contract between, which
And I
is a
think
different situation.
Keeping the spirit of the current contract is important.
And that's why I was proposing just taking the existing contracts, which we all believe are legally okay. Marbletown is happy with theirs. Kerhonkson is clearly happy with theirs. They don't have to be the same contract. as long as Mary Lou and our insurance company say you're covered insurance wise. As long as they agree with, they're basically the same. The Marbletown one goes into a little more detail. They basically say the same things. So, my opinion is we don't need to reinvent. But if we, with the ambulance district does come a little bit different responsibility. So, okay, so I'll work with Mary Lou, come up with answers, come back here at the workshop meeting, hopefully. And we should try to have a contract in place before we adopt the final budget.
Yeah.
So worst case is we have to do it, we should do it at our November meeting. But we have to offer it to them, get them to agree.
Right.
Then we sign. Park Pavilion roof, especially this weekend, being there in a little bit of rain. There's some places it's leaking, dripping. We've known it for a while. I'd like to try to get it done before the end of the year. We do have in the buildings line some money left. This doesn't need to actually be bids. It's probably low enough. I won't know for sure until we actually see quotes. What I'd like to do is ask the board to go out and get quotes. I don't think we need a resolution for that. I would just bring the quotes back to you and do it. It's in the level of our procurement policy. I believe that probably needs 3 quotes, depending on the dollar amount. It could be 2, depending on how. I got to go back and look at our procurement and see where the dollar amount difference is. But with the board's approval, I'm going to call around to some local roof contractors. Going to start with our own town, try them first, expand from there. But it's a fairly small project. I think it could be knocked out pretty quickly. We should be able to get it done before snow flies. And just get your sort of okay to go out and get the quotes, and then I'll bring you back a resolution to authorize it. Nope. I just wanted to bring it up, and I forgot to put it on under discussion. Last item. Our memorial, I think we've agreed we don't need the executive session, correct? So tonight we are adjourning in memory of Hilda Marie Van Nostrand, Vance Davis Rich, Virginia Gina Rauner, Arnold, and I apologize, I think it's Youngin. That's what I thought it was. But Nancy Jennings, Nancy Joyce Quick, Donna Lynn Johnson, Leonard Walcott Jr., Patricia Cooper, Daniel Kelly, Pauline Schurter, Charlotte Rydell, those suffering from the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, the people of Ukraine, and all suffering from COVID virus. How I come up with these names is I basically go to the regional funeral notices each month and collect them throughout the month between Hummiston to Ellenville, Rosendale. We may miss somebody occasionally. I try not to, but that's how I get these names. So everybody knows. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Hey, Shirley. Oh, my goodness.